Here's why your consulting business could struggle in 2025 and what to do about it. So the first thing is we want to look at the current kind of backdrop, the economic backdrop, what's happening in the world right now that will likely influence how your consulting business performs, the opportunities, the dangers, and really what, kind of a look into the future. So we should start by talking about interest rates, because interest rates have climbed up very quickly compared to historic levels. And now in many countries around the world, interest rates are starting to come down. The challenge is no one really knows what's going to happen going forward. Many believe the interest rates will continue to come down, while others are saying that if inflation continues to spike in some places, then they may actually need to start increasing interest rates again. Whatever your belief is, the main thing is that people don't really know what's going to happen, and this is causing a lot of uncertainty in many different markets around the world. The next thing we need to look at is higher unemployment. Unemployment is starting to creep up in many countries. This is causing a lot of concern for governments. It's also causing a lot of concern for people in society who have either been let go of their jobs, can't find jobs. You're also hearing from companies that they're looking for people with specific skill sets. They can't find those quality people. And so that's another factor to consider. We have historic losses piling up at US banks like never seen before. This is an indicator of what's likely to come. And that's not going to be a pretty picture when that starts to unfold. Add to that the level of debt. If we talk about the US government, right, historic levels of debt only continues to increase and grow. And the US is not alone. This is happening in many countries around the world. All right, let's go over two other factors that we need to consider before we start talking about what you can actually do to prepare yourself for what's to come. Number one is, I talk to a lot of clients who are based in Europe, and in Europe, many countries are already considered to be in recession. What does that mean for the rest of the world? The next thing to think about is global conflict. We have many countries right now that are at war, there's conflict, regardless of what your view is on what's happening in the world and the wars that are going on and the potential conflicts that might arise as things could get worse. What that all causes is uncertainty. And so if you look at both the economic factors, you look at the geopolitical factors, you look at what's happening inside of organizations, you look at the debt that is increasing, the unemployment that is increasing, and you look at the strain on the financial systems. Again, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know what's going to happen and when, but a lot of signs are pointing to 2025 could be a very turbulent year. So how do you prepare for that? And what do you actually need to think about as a consultant to ensure that you not only survive, but you actually thrive? So number one, most consultants don't actually have a strategy. They don't have enough differentiation in their business and in their positioning, meaning that they don't stand out. They're viewed as a commodity consultant. Maybe they are an ERP implementation consultant, maybe they are a Salesforce consultant, maybe they work in agriculture. But if you don't have enough differentiation, if you're just one of many other consultants that provide the same things that you do and you talk about it in the same ways as they do, then you're not creating differentiation. And that is okay generally when times are good, when there's lots of business, when the economy is booming, when people are not uncertain, when people are not hesitating to make investments. But right now, and this is increasing and likely to continue to increase, a lot of organizations are holding on to budgets. They're not allocating capital as quickly as they might have in other times. The uncertainty is causing people to really be more cautious and hesitate to make bigger decisions. So for you as a consultant, one of the ways that you can actually ensure that you create or capture greater opportunity is by standing out. Because if you're not memorable, if people don't really understand what you do differently than others, what you offer in terms of greater value and what that differentiation is, then you're just one of many. Now, the next opportunity, but also a challenge for many people, is that as the pool of experts and people leaving organizations and starting consulting business increases, as we've seen it happen, there's a lot more noise right in the marketplace. So we just talked about the importance of having a clear differentiation strategy and an approach to really know what you stand for and so that you stand out. But what many people aren't spending enough time on right now is making sure that they are visible. A great way to do this is to think about the approach that I call leveraged distribution. This means that you find people that have access to your ideal clients and you use those opportunities to get in front of your ideal clients. As an example, you reach out to industry associations or trade publications or certain events where your ideal clients already congregate, or they are already members, or they already read or listen to or consume. So think podcasts, but it's all about leveraging off of somebody else's relationships or media. It might even be a software company that your ideal clients, right, in the industry that you target or those that you work with, maybe they all use a certain type of software, and you might partner with that software organization to deliver an online training, a webinar, an executive briefing, maybe to write for a publication or newsletter they have, maybe to show up and actually talk and speak at an event or conference that they have. But when times get tough, you don't want to stick your head in the sand. You want to make sure that you're getting out in front of your ideal clients as consistently as you possibly can and as much as you can. So this is where leverage distribution makes it really helpful, because if you're just sending an email or you're posting on LinkedIn by yourself, these are good things to do, but you want to get in front of as many potential ideal clients as you can. You want to expand your net. Again, if ideal clients, it's not about just getting in front of anyone out there. It's about getting in front of the right people. So you want to think about where can you do that? How can you do that? And the more that you do that when times are tough, the more opportunities that you will create. All right, so here's an opportunity again, but also a challenge. And this will continue to increase in 2025. And we have to talk about it because it's kind of like the elephant in the room, and it's AI. I just read about an organization that has really updated their model when it comes to AI. And now they're able to replace whole teams of what some work that attorneys and lawyers used to do. This will increase. And so what this means for you as a consultant is that if you're trying to compete with AI, you're going to lose. There's no way for you to beat AI at what AI can do, right? It'll only continue to get better. So for you, it's important to think about, what do you bring that is unique? What is the value that you offer that AI can't? And that might be, how you provide certain perspectives. Maybe it's that you are meeting and talking to more people, so you have a very strong, clear opinion that is different. AI can't capture that yet in real time. You can. Relationships will be more important than ever before, because as more people turn to AI and language models and so forth to access initial information, the context, the depth, the detail, right, the color that you are able to provide and add as the expert in the field, and the relationships that you build with people, that's something that AI cannot replace. So AI, again, can be a real danger for you in 2025 and beyond, but it can also be a real point of leverage and opportunity if you, number one, use it wisely, because, right, we could do a whole video on how to use AI as a consultant. There's lots of opportunities for you inside of your business, whether you're a solo consultant or you're the owner of a boutique consulting firm, right, a small firm. There's lots of opportunities, and you definitely should be using AI in certain parts of your business. But AI can also harm you, right, if you're not aware. So again, don't stick your head in the sand. Look for the opportunities to leverage and use AI. Also, think about how you add value beyond what AI can add, right? And that's what you want to make sure that you communicate. That needs to be part of your messaging, part of your positioning, part of your conversations, because if you're trying to compete with AI, you will almost surely lose. Another important factor for you to consider in 2025 as a consultant is that when times get tough, and again, I don't have the crystal ball, I don't know when things will get much tougher than they are right now, but I've been hearing from many clients that we work with over the last several months that they're seeing firsthand organizations saying, yes, like we want to do this, but we're going to wait until Q1 of 2025. People are also thinking about smaller projects as opposed to bigger projects. So as an example, rather than get started with a $150,000 project, they're more likely to get started with a $10,000 project. Now, add on everything we've been talking about, kind of the whole economic, geopolitical background and so forth. What it means is that organizations, if they view you as a nice to have, they are unlikely to pull the trigger to say yes to starting to do business with you anytime soon. And so the opportunity for you as a consultant is to make sure that your positioning, what you're talking about, is not seen or viewed as a nice to have, but rather as a must have. You need to think about, how do you position your expertise, the problems that you solve, as being ones that are a must have. You want to think about, what is the business case for what you are doing? What is the true economic value? What is the impact through the lens of your ideal client, right? Different industries, different types of organizations, different roles view value in different ways. And so the important thing for you is to figure out, what do they view as truly being valuable? And so it's not about a nice to have. If something is a nice to have, they will almost always kick the can down the road. They will think about delaying, they will hesitate, right? They will not start the project as soon as if they see it as a must-have. And so for you, again, the opportunity is to think about, what is the business case here? What is the real impact? What is the real value that solving X problem or creating Y result for this organization? And talk about that, right, with the buyer. When they can see the reason to start now, when they can see the true impact, the value, the business case, they're much more likely to say yes to you to start now, as opposed to delaying the project and the engagement. All right, so let's just do a quick recap of what we've talked about here. There's a lot of macroeconomic factors, geopolitical factors. We're seeing all kinds of shifts inside of organizations, how they're currently thinking about deploying capital, how they're thinking about using and working with consultants. There's a lot of hesitation right now. There's still lots of business going on, right? There's still lots of deals being done, but they're being done typically in a more thoughtful, slower pace than they were when times were just great. When we look at what's happening around the world, the indicators, and from everything that I'm studying and reading, it's showing that we should start to prepare for, some rocky times ahead. Now, again, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know when that's going to happen and if it's even going to happen. But I'll tell you one thing, being prepared for it is much better than not being prepared for it. We saw what happened during COVID when many business owners were not prepared. Their businesses just got decimated. And luckily, many of the consultants and clients that we work with, they were prepared. Partly that was because we helped them to prepare for what was to come. And they were much better off, right? They had diversified income streams, they had diversified marketing channels, they were thinking proactively, strategically, and so that made a huge difference. And some of them actually had their best years during that whole period because they not only were prepared, but they actually knew how to take advantage of those situations in a positive way that was beneficial for, of course, them, but also for their clients and the communities and those that they serve. So what can you do? Make sure that you have a clear strategy in place. You want to figure out how do you differentiate yourself from others in the marketplace so that you stand out. Number two is make sure that you actually stand out. Get visible, right? Get in front of your ideal clients consistently. Use leverage distribution to get in front of a lot more people than you otherwise could by yourself. There's lots of opportunity to benefit from that if you explore it. Use AI in your own business. And also make sure that you're not trying to compete with AI, right? Look for the opportunities, look for the dangers, and then implement based on that. And then finally, you need to position what you do as a must-have, not a nice-to-have. Buyers are not just looking for nice-to-haves. They're looking for things that truly move the needle for them. They're looking at things that solve critical and crucial problems. They're looking for a real business case in order to feel comfortable to invest. If you take advantage of all of that, not only will you be able to survive what's likely to come, but you're going to position yourself to thrive.